Hello and welcome. My name is Stella, and I'm very humbled and grateful and honoured to be asked to speak at this amazing summit with some incredible minds and pioneers and incredible teachers and speakers. So, thank you to all concerned who have invited me. And, my forte is about sound, and I have been studying sound ever since I was a child. I find it fascinating to see how sound can create form. I've always known that innately inside of me. And so I kind of found that I had a voice when I was about 11 or 12. And by the time I was 16, I was living at a record producer's house in Jersey, in the Channel Islands, in the UK, and we were making tracks. Meanwhile, I was babysitting his younger son and the couple's younger son. So that's kind of how I started out in all of this. And as I got older, I kind of obviously my voice matured, but I ended up at 19 singing in the Ritz Hotel in London with a jazz orchestra and knocking out about 45 Ella Fitzgerald jazz standards every night. So I kind of had my indoctrination into the rudiments of music through jazz and was a jazz singer for many years. And then really about 12, 13 years ago, I discovered frequencies. There was a lot of talk about frequencies at the time. Certain frequencies can heal, certain frequencies can unlock consciousness. And I thought, oh gosh, this all sounds very familiar. And so I embarked on my own frequency journey. And that took me as a vocalist to 432 hertz. And what I found, and that's sort of become my staple, is that 432 hertz is very, very suitable for the human voice. And in my studies with my voice work and with my frequency work and with the music that I make, I've discovered many, many things. We're not just this physical vessel that our soul is in. We're also part of a very complex light body system. And so what I found through my music is that I can penetrate through dimension with the voice and with the music into the light body system and start to do some quantum work, should we say, with sound that moves through dimension. And what I found in my studies and my research and everything else that I've done is that the emotional body is a light body in itself, our feeling center, our heart light body. And the ancient Egyptians used to call that light body our Ab, A-B. And our soul was our Ba, B-A, Abba. All right, so those are the original tones, if you like, of the human light body system. You've got the heart and you've got the soul. And so my music is specifically designed to go in and to bring a holographic repatterning of divine coherence, resonance, and to bring all of those light body systems into alignment again. Because when we're feeling very traumatized or emotional, or our feeling center is in a lower vibrational scale, I find that certain music can bring us back into alignment, back into our divine majestic blueprint, which is our heart and soul, unified and working together for the benefit of the human vessel, for the human body itself. And if you look at the human body and all the frequencies that make us up, we're all a very unique orchestra, and we're all a very unique symphony. And so when something's out of alignment, let's say it's an organ like the liver or the heart or the kidneys, frequencies and music can be brought back in to bring everything into alignment. So I had an interesting chat a couple of years ago by a chap that was trying to find out the frequency that stopped migraines in their tracks. And somehow I'd been introduced to him. And he said, we've done all these clinical trials to see when a migraine comes on, and we've managed to narrow it down to a D note at 146. And I said, well, the note that you're looking for is actually a D note in 144 hertz. He said, how do you know that? And I said, I don't know. It's just something I know because this is ancient knowledge coming back into this future timeline that we're going into. And there are many wisdom keepers here, many knowledge keepers of this information that have been we've been pottering around in the background for quite a while, but now it's time for us to come out and share this knowledge, because we're moving into a time called the Golden Age. And that has been prophesied as 1,000 years of peace. And when we get to a state of peace, we come into harmony within, come into harmony with the higher-risk gammas and the divine union within. And so my music allows you to get right into the parts that other frequencies can't, if you like, because we're using the divinity of the human voice. And the human voice has kind of been relegated to the forms of entertainment for many, many years, and talent. But actually the human voice is a sacred tool. It's a sacred tool to be able to, have a connection with Source, and to bring Source down, to bridge the bridge between Source and the human vessel and this reality. So the human voice, in the Gregorian chants of old, the human voice was the most healing tool. And a lot of those Gregorian chants are not available now. So I'm here as if you like, a promoter of the divinity of the human voice. And when we sing in the right frequencies, we can sing through dimension, and we can penetrate through to any of those ailments that are working in the light body system, bring it back into divine harmony. And one of my tracks is actually called Divine Harmony. And what we found is through various different lab experiments, certain frequencies and sounds with the human voice combined can actually keep blood alive longer outside of the human body than if it was just left in a quiet environment. So I was very honored to be asked at this incredible time to participate in this laboratory experiment and scientific study of sound. What we found was that my voice and my music, composed by Derek van Heerden in South Africa, in Pythagorean tuning, so that tuning is 12 true fifths. It's not like equal temperament that you would find on your keyboard right now or any tunings. It's an ancient tuning that has the power to create life force, to create prana, to create chi outside of the human body. So just imagine what that's doing inside the human body when we are surrounding ourselves in the field of that resonance and that divine harmony itself. So as we harmonize humanity, we can use sound technologies, frequencies, the human voice, the very underestimated human voice that, as I said, has been relegated to the realms of entertainment. Actually, the high priestess energies and the high priests of old, of ancient Egypt, knew the secrets of sound. And now all of those sounds are starting to come back to make our world a better place. And the other way that sound worked was to elevate consciousness, because everyone talks about the torus that's around the human field. And the torus is actually another cage. It's another containment of consciousness. And if we are to rise in consciousness, if we're to rise and elevate consciousness, sound can unlock that toroidal field, and it can just expand your whole resonance out into the universal being that you are, contained right now in a human body. So the high priestesses and the high priests of ancient Egypt used sound in the form of an ankh, tuning forks. Sound baths were created for painless birthing. There's so much that we can do with sound that will create a future that we actually want. A future without pain, a future without suffering. That's where we're going. And so all these mysteries of sound now are coming out. They're becoming more and more available to us, through pioneers that are out there working with frequency and actually doing laboratory results and seeing the difference. But also there's a metaphysical side, there's an unseen side to all of this, which is, it's the light body system. And if the light body system is not in congruence with the human body, then we have to go into that quantum field with sound and change things and bring things back to the holographic perfection of who we are. And so my music contains all those mysteries and secrets. And whilst it's just pleasant to listen to and you think, oh, that's a beautiful song or whatever, there's great beauty being brought to you from the divine codes of Source that are being brought and bridged into your field. And so this is the way I use my divine gift. And I'm sure many others can too. We're all blessed with a human voice. And if you can speak, you can sing. even if you think you can't hold a note. And that's a very interesting point, actually, about not holding notes. You know, we're taught at school that we have 5 lines and 5 spaces, and we've all got to hit these notes to stay in tune. And of course we do if we're playing with others, we're playing in an orchestra or whatever. But when I went into the Great Pyramid to record my second album, that was in 2011 during the Egyptian Revolution. And what I found was when I brought the recording, some of them back, because some of them obviously I had an earpiece in and I could hold the frequency of whatever I was singing in. But when I went free form, when I didn't listen to a note and hold a note, it was the most extraordinary thing to listen back to, because my voice moved over several tones because of the dampening and the resonance of the Great Pyramid as an acoustics chamber, which is one of the most ancient effects units that I absolutely love for the human voice. My voice was drifting all over different keys and notes. And so through listening back to that without a root note to listen to compare it to, it just takes you into a completely different dimension of sound. Because we're all in the music industry focused on holding one note. But when we don't have that sonic anchor and we let the voice fly just as it's meant to, it brings us into a completely different dimension of sound. So sound's really important. If you look at any, of the ancient studies, we can see that sound creates matter. It creates form. Right now, you're looking at the sonic resonance of my personality, my soul, my sound-like body, my heart-like body, which is my emotional field. Right now, you're looking at the orchestration, divine orchestration in this hologram of stellar. So we all have this innate gift. We all have this unique sound. We all have this incredible resonance that we can share to make a whole orchestra for the whole planet. And that's one of my goals is to really look at how plants emanate sound and to do a plant orchestra. There are various scientists out there that are creating, sound in notations from plants chattering to each other. And one of my dreams in the future is to go on stage and sing with the plant and the flower orchestra. Can you imagine? The frequency of roses as the string section, the frequency of gladioli as the double bass, or the frequency of the mimosa plant as the soprano notes in any orchestra. Can you imagine if we start to bring the sounds of nature into our field again? Because we can't hear, in this current density, we can't really hear the flowers and the plants and the trees, but they all have their own sounds. So can you imagine harmonizing humanity through the sounds of nature? So that's one of my dreams. If anybody's out there that can help me bring that into a reality, I'm so willing to talk to you. And we'll have a lot of fun doing it as well, because the elemental nature is something that's so healing for the human heart and soul and body. And the reason I sing in 432 hertz is because it helps my voice as a vocalist. It allows my voice to get into ranges that I couldn't get into before because it's natural. If I'm trying at 440 hertz or 444 hertz, which is sometimes used as a concert pitch, I have to practice for days to get up into those notes, into that artificial sonic range. So what's really good is to come back to nature and to bring nature back in, because nature is a grand design. This holographic universe in which we live is built on certain protocols, mathematics, and the golden mean, the spiral, the great spiral. When you look at all nature, it bursts out of a seed in a spiral. You look at the galaxy, it's revolving in a spiral. If we look at certain plants, we see the spiral resonance, and everything is that spiral, which is expansion. It's not the toroidal field that is constantly integrating and disintegrating around us. We need to break through the torus and become the universal resonance. That's our natural birthright, just as is joy. So joy in music, joy in frequency, joy in nature. When we combine these things, we create an incredible expansion of consciousness, which allows us to access the higher teachings, the future timeline teachings, and it allows us to go into our galactic and our cosmic wisdom. It allows us to access the unaccessible previously. So, sound is so important. There are so many pioneers out there doing incredible work. I'm very fortunate to know John Stuart Reid, who has developed an instrument called the Cymoscope. And the Cymoscope can basically capture resonance. I'm sure you've all heard of Cymatics. It's quite a common thing, but 10 years ago, nobody had even heard of it. It was just sort of geeky sound healers and researchers like myself that got into, looking at Cymatics. So what I did with John, one of my first projects, was I recorded a track called 144. And what I did was I psychically tuned into every single soul in my monadic field, of which we all have a soul monad of 144 beings that all overlay our experience in many different dimensions. And so what I did was I tuned in, I gave each of them a voice, created a choir, created a harmonic of 144 voices. And what was really interesting was that when I got the results back, I found a 12-petaled rose, which is just above me here. So that cymatic glyph is basically a soul signature. It's how the monadic field of the beings around me in the unseen world, in the multidimensional, are expressed, and it's a blue rose. So that was really exciting for me to see. There's no accidents here. When we think of 144, it's base 12, right? 12 12s or 144. And there's 12 petals right there in sound, proof that this is all a mathematical equation to be figured out. So it's really wonderful to look at how we can access these higher teachings, how we can access higher knowledge, how we can access the ancient future of what we need to truly harmonize humanity. So yeah, with the lab experiments available now and the technologies, frequency is the future of healing, and it's here right now. That future is right here, right now. So what I'll do with this video is I will put my music called Divine Harmony, which is the one that keeps blood alive, and I'll also put a very sacred prayer called the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic. Excuse me. And the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic is sung in the original language of Aramaic, which to me is a beautiful language. And it's a language to be felt in the heart, not to be interpreted by the mind or the brain. And what you'll find with all of my music is that it speaks directly to your heart and to your soul. And the reason I sing in tongues, if you like, or light language as some people call it, is that it bypasses the brain, bypasses the ego, it bypasses the human mind, and speaks directly to the healing of hearts. So, and that's the other thing I do, my day job, if you like, when I'm not making music, which tends to be project-led, but my daytime work is helping people remember the power of their heart and the power of unconditional love. And all the great teachers that I know right now are directing people to their heart. It's not this technology or this or whatever. It's everything needs to be felt through the heart for us to ascend. And so the thing that people forget is that there are all these great technologies and things, but it has to be done through the heart. The heart is the gateway to the greater consciousness. And all the great teachers, avatars are all pointing here. They're pointing to the heart. The heart sphere is so powerful. We've been all programmed to be up here in our brain and our education, but actually it's the teachings of the heart that will allow us to ascend into a new reality, a better reality. But there's certain things that we have to do here on the planet right now. There's certain things we have to do to release ourselves, to opt out of contracts where we may have given our consent in the past. And so my sound work combined with divine law and designed with opting out of contracts that we didn't know we were in is very much part of a whole quantum system that is being developed right now to help people ascend. But it does take a little bit of the law of action. It takes a little bit of just doing something, actually doing something to get yourself out of something you didn't know. So sound unlocks all of this. And I will put the Lord's Prayer and Divine Harmony. And just allow yourself 10-15 minutes for those two tracks. Put on the headphones and just receive. Because really, the proof of the pudding's in the eating, right? I could sit here and talk and say whatever I like, but at the end of the day, when you listen to the music, you'll understand what I mean. So I'm wishing everyone here a fantastic summit. It's so great to be invited again, and you know, I look forward to collaborating with some of the other speakers as well. We've got some time, I think, to collaborate and to talk with everyone that comes in. So if you have any questions or you want to discuss anything with regard to frequency or my music, then please do come along and say hello. It would be an absolute delight to meet you and to share a little bit more about what I know. So here's to harmonizing humanity. I'm all for that. And yeah, have a wonderful, wonderful summit, wonderful day, and God bless all. And so it is.